Hello, everybody. This is Paula Connor with Elevate Me Hub, and I'm here with my new friend. I'm so excited. This is Natasha from South Africa.
Hi.
And
Hello.
a little chat about heart frequency. Heart math is what I teach people to help them get connected to their heart so that they can listen to their heart's intelligence. And you do something with, before we get into what you do with the colors, let's just tune into our own heart. So, as I normally do this with my clients and whatnot, focus your attention on the area of the heart, imagining that the breath is going in and out of the heart space, and then we're going to make a positive, active intention to feel the feelings of gratitude, love, care, and compassion. And we're just going to hold that for a few breaths as we tune into each other, Natasha. And then we know that this conversation will blossom into something quite wonderful. So let's just hold that for a few breaths. My intention is to tune right into you and you to me. That feels nice.
I feel so warm now. Do you feel that?
I could feel that what they showed me was an infinity, like a connection.
Yes, I saw like a circle with like just rays coming out of it, little rainbows. I'm like, yeah, we're connected.
So yeah, okay. So the reason why we're together is I watched a number of QHHT episodes, and for those who don't know what that means, that's Quantum Hypnosis Healing in Cape Town with Erica, which is where I was introduced essentially to Natasha. So Natasha, do you want to share a little bit about, you know, how you arrived on the planet and your purpose and just what you feel is appropriate to kind of share? Because this is what's brought us together, is our passion for the heart and the native frequency and the source of all that is.
Yes. So for me, it's kind of like it's a funny story actually, because everybody usually messages me and it's like, oh, your sessions are so profound and oh, you must have so much knowledge. And I'm like, I feel like the person with the least amount of knowledge, because you still have to put it into practice into your life. And you know, the higher selves, they like massive and you're like this small extension. But I started awakening in 2015 fully. My family is quite awoke. I must say I'm very blessed to be one of the fortunate people where I don't have problems with my relationships with my family members. It took some time. My sisters were the first two. They paved the way and were kind of like the rebels in the house, and then slowly started to teach me to connect more to myself and be happy with who I am. Because, you know, I've had struggles like everybody else. I went through medical trauma. I went through childhood trauma, a lot of different things. So I struggled a lot with depression and anxiety and things like that. And they always are like, you need to take a breath and you go walk, go sit in nature, connect back, you know. So they always guided me. So I'm very grateful for my sisters. And so in 2015, I started getting more curious because I was like, what is life about? You know, so I went on my journey of what I do is I first originally studied musical theatre, and that was the direction I was going in. Very happy, excited, and then I got stung in the face by a scorpion. So I had a stroke at the age of 21. Yeah, so a lot of things happened to me.
I feel bad because I'm a Scorpio in the zodiac, so that stinger, you got. How did you get stung in the face by?
Yeah, my birthday's this month.
What's that? Sorry.
I said I'm also a Scorpio. My birthday's this month. Yeah.
When is
your 27th?
Oh, I'm November 26th. I'm November 2nd.
Oh,
I love Scorpios. Sometimes we need to get stung in the ass to get us to move, right? Sometimes.
Exactly.
So please share. So how did that happen? And then continue with your story. How did you get stung in the face by a Scorpio? You're still beautiful, thankfully.
Thank you. Where I lived was on a farm. I always grew up on a farm, nature, horses, animals, very connected to that. And the place where we live in South Africa, it's a very hot place. So I was at an outside shower. So we have these outdoor showers. So it was a very hot day. It was about 42 degrees. And I was busy taking a shower. I'm alone at home at this point. My parents were away for vacation. And when I picked up my towel, there was something small on the towel, and it looked like a little cricket. But I thought, okay, oh, it's too late. So to remove my hands, I just turned my face, and then it stung me here next to my left eye. And it was actually one of the most venomous scorpions you can find, and a baby one. Yes. So I immediately remembered feeling like someone took a blowtorch to the inside of my face. I ran into the house, pressed redial on the house phone, and called my parents, and then I passed out, and I woke up 4 days later in ICU. They got the neighbor's son to jump over the wall, and because our dogs knew him, so that he could take me to hospital. Yeah.
Wow.
But mind you, I was still butt naked at this point, so he had to dress me, throw me in the car, and all of that. Yeah. So it was quite an intense experience. And then a year after that, I started developing different complications. Like I had borderline edema, I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia. They first told me after the stroke that I had different types of cancers. So I did a lot of MRIs, CAT scans. I did about 3 lumbar punctures in the space of 2 years. Eventually, what happened was someone did reflexology on my feet and was like, there's something in your face. I was like, okay, thank you. Like I've got Bell's palsy after the stroke. I still don't have a lot of function on the side. But then when I went to a specialist, it was the venom made a little capsule in my cheek, and it was leaking down to my heart, and that caused all my problems. And then, then my mom motivated me to go into more natural healing to heal myself and do reflexology. And then I just started studying. Then it was like 8 years where I did long courses, short courses, everything. We have a joke where I currently work now, where I practice. They say, there's not enough space on the wall for all my certificates. So I do nutrition, I do work with muscles, I do rehabilitation, I work deeply in the lymphatic system. I specialize the most in the water, which is quite funny because that's my main attribute.
Yeah.
And so I practice on a daily basis. I do something that I call body correcting. So what body correcting is my own concept. It's my own method that I qualified myself in. So the way that I created the healing for myself was I had to create an environment for my body to heal myself. I was at this point where I was very low in my life. Borderline edema, if people don't know what that is, it's like you've got these elephant legs, you're so swollen, you're retaining so much fluid.
Yeah.
And I wanted to lose the weight. I was depressed, and I'm not ashamed to say that at that stage, I was so badly depressed that I was hooked on substances. I was drinking a lot of alcohol. I was just wasting my life. And one day I got very sick from alcohol poisoning, and I almost thought I would die, to be honest. And then it was almost like a wake-up call where I felt my native frequency, my heart, the psychic activated. And I felt this warmth, and I heard my voice say, come to me. And I was like, what the hell am I doing?
I want to cry because when I think I shared with you in that email, when I left the corporate world in 2018, I had been aware of heart math for like many years. I'm like, okay, what do I do now? I'd always been doing work with stress. Your expertise. My expertise is the inner world. How to create an inner world that is peaceful and connected, no matter what is happening on the external world, because we can't rely on something good out there so that we feel good in here. And so I went into meditation, and that was the only time and first time I had clear audio, and it was meet me here in the heart space. So that's why it's so amazing when the heart comes through. You wouldn't think, I know, that's why I wanted to make me cry. So please continue. So that's wonderful. Yeah, and it's like a fire in the chest, right?
Yes, it's like this. It almost feels like, the best way to describe it is, it's not a heated sensation, it's like a glow. It feels like you're glowing from the inside. It's like this, you can physically feel like the light projecting out as it glows. It's like a kind of warm but yet very tingling kind of sensation. And I was like, okay. I thought like almost maybe I was going to have an out-of-body experience. Never have had one. But then I got curious. And then actually I was like, I want to know more about what is this that I heard and felt. I know my sisters talk about, listening to your guides and things like that. And then when I eventually recovered from that, and I decided no more, like, I'm not going to let this happen to me, because I can't blame anyone else. I can't blame the system. I can't blame the Scorpion. I can't blame my work for making me depressed. It was me. I was abusing myself. And then I was like determined on this. I'm going to create this environment within my body because the body is a wonderful thing and it can heal itself. And everybody says it and it must be true. And I started going on my journey and doing research. And the first thing I found was Dolores Cannon. Her books are the first I ever read. I didn't follow anybody or anything like that. I read all of her books. Well, the Convoluted Universe, all of them, and the Three Waves. I didn't read all of them. I'm still busy with Jesus in the Scene, which is like
love that book,
gold.
The Way of the Essenes by I read that one too. I love it. I've read it a bunch of times.
Yes, I only started with it now and I'm loving it. But
who is that? Is it called The Way of the Essenes?
It's called Jesus and the Essenes.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's by Dolores. Right.
Yes. Gotcha. Yeah. So then when I got more into her books, the Convoluted Universe really I resonated with so much stuff. And when they were saying things, it's almost as if this world of information just unlocked within me. And I just started journaling. I've got like piles and piles of journals, and I just started getting memories and things about frequencies and knowing things about quantum physics. And it was so weird because I've never heard of any of these things before. And when I go and Google the things I write down, that's like very accurate. And I'm like, okay, what was this, like a new skill or what happened? And then I started to learn different forms of just connecting with myself. I will say I am one of those people who struggle with meditation. I could never sit still. Close my eyes and get into it. I always did it through music, frequency. I love music. As you can see, like I have tattoos everywhere of musical notes and stuff because that was my direction that I wanted.
You know what's really interesting is so we talk about the native frequency. I always called it the heart song. And before, and actually the sacred geometry on my website is actually I got a lady, an artist, because I said to her, I want you to create a picture of the music, because I was seeing music in my mind's eye, like I was seeing notes. And she said something about the design that when you get to the fourth compression of sound, the heart automatically creates itself, like it by default. She said something about the. So anyway, carry on without the music notes. So. Yeah.
That is so wonderful to hear. You see, I love going around talking to different people and then just hearing how there's so many different ways that you can experience the same thing. And it's such a beautiful thing to understand, because I think a lot of people struggle with that. Well, that's my perception. A lot of people struggle with that because I get asked a lot, how do you do it? What specifics? And I'm like, we are different people. We are different races. We are different energy frequencies. Yes, we all stem from the same source, but through our lifetimes, we all pull pieces from different areas. So we all have different methods, and it's never try and get stuck on one, but to find the one that works for you. And that's kind of also how I healed myself. Is I took the different methods of natural healing, reflexology, lymph drainage, rehabilitation tissue, working with the myofascial body, moving energy through my body. And I found different things that worked for me, and I started to heal. I lost all the weight. I haven't had a fibromyalgia flare up in the last 3 years, which I'm very grateful for. My face, I started feeling back on the top of my skin. And
can we talk so I want to come back. Don't let me forget to share something on the reflexology. But the reflexologist that you went to, actually, I'm going to share it now because it was a reflexologist that helped you pinpoint that you've got a pocket here that's leaking into the body. I had a reflexology session the first time just before, actually, I think it was the second. I went to Peru and did some plant medicine, ayahuasca. Anyway, I went to see a reflexologist the first time I went, and how she prepared this. She did something funky with the scalp, like basically did this in your head. I have dreads, so I can't do it. But when she did that on my head, I saw in my mind's eye all light language.
Oh,
I don't speak light language. I recognize it. I can see it. I know what it is. When I hear it, it makes my heart sing because I know there's truth in what is being spoken. But it was the reflexology that showed me that. And it was the reflexology with you. So how did you get this poison dealt with? I mean, I know you did a bunch of stuff, but let's talk about the environment.
So what I did was, because they told me that they can't, it made like my lymphatic system. So that's why I'm obsessed with the lymph, because I basically say your lymph is the ocean of your body, right? Nothing can survive without the water. Water sustains life, or at least on our planet in the time space where we are. And I got obsessed with the lymph because the lymph actually went around this venom and created a hard shell capsule just over my nerve. So that's why I have no function on the face, but it's slowly starting to come back. So it created this little capsule where it was slowly leaking through the nerve down to the heart, and that's what gave me the stroke. But they were like, we can't touch it. We can't drain it, because if we drain it, it might explode and then it could go in your bloodstream, you could die. Or if we cut out the whole nerve which it's sitting on, you won't have function in your face. So they didn't get rid of it. They only drained a little bit of it out, but if I still touch my cheek, I can feel the hard little ball. So it's still there. I don't have any issues with it. I know I'm fine, everything like that. But how I kept it under control is I first had to see what environment am I creating for my body to sustain this, because your lymphocytes are so amazing. They have many different jobs, and their main thing is to clean the body. Anytime they find a threat or any kind of toxin in the body, they create a capsule around it to protect it from spreading to the rest of the body. And sometimes if your lymph nodes are overwhelmed and they don't flush, that they spark right in front of it, and then they start to build up. And this is what causes adipose tissue, which everyone calls fat, but it's actually artificial fat. And that also creates cellulite and all of those things. And then that's why we fluctuate with weight, is because of these little capsules. So then I went to go study deeper into the lymph, like how can I keep these little guys strong so that they don't uncapsule this thing? And then I just went crazy with it, working with the pH of the lymphatic system. I don't know if you're very familiar with the lymph system.
I am absolutely 100% familiar with the lymph system, and I'm actually I'm certifying in Kundalini yoga, and I'm using breath. And here's one of the things: so you sit in a comfortable position, cross-legged, and you can use the breath to clear out any blockages. And this is a simple one. You breathe in left, out in the middle.
Yes.
You do that very quickly, twisting the spine. Obviously, you have to warm up the spine. There's a soupy ground and a few other movements. But yeah, there's that one. And there's actually another one is a shoulder stand, which is one of the all asanas. And then you can, there's a bunch of things that you can do with the lymph, because it doesn't have its own pump. We have to, right?
Yes. So because I had the most problems in my lymph system, I studied intensely into the lymph, where I've studied in 5 different places in the world, different courses of the lymph, and I learned different things that the one place didn't teach me that I learned in the other place, and so I went on. And I first started with body brushing because that's the obvious, easy one, and it worked well for me. Then I developed my own technique where the lymph inside the nerve lining is the most important ones that you have, because they're the ones that carry the communication that the brain sends to and from areas. And when that lining gets dry, that is where the nerve starts to pull in to try and lubricate, and therefore it pulls in body, it starts damaging an area, and then you can also mess with your myofascial body, which then starts messing with everything else. Right. And so I developed my own techniques of kind of, because I tried yoga and everything like that, and it was fantastic, but it didn't work for what was going on in my body. Yeah. And it was almost as if when I created this space and started listening to meditational music, I just relaxed and felt my heart, that glow, and my body started moving itself. So I would like to say, take credit for it, but it's not my technique. It's my higher team's techniques, and they came into my body. I could feel my whole body glow underneath my fingers, under my teeth. It feels like everything's like glowing out. And it's kind of like they did these movements where it's like you move slowly, and then it's like when you feel the pain, you pump it through. And this helped a lot. I lost about 30 kgs in 9 months just by doing that 3 minutes a day.
50 kilograms, that's a lot of weight.
That is a lot. I was like, I don't even have photos of that time, because I had a self-image complex. Like I really was unkind to myself then. but I'm happy to say I'm very good.
I know what you're talking about, because there was a time in my life where I would look in the mirror and I would be like, I would call myself names, call myself fat, ugly, all of that, had a terrible self-image. And that's why it takes practice. And that's why, going back to the whole heart and how I'd like to take credit for the Mind Your Mind series that I created. I can't, because I didn't write it, Heart wrote it. I would get the images first, and then I would literally have my hands on the keyboard and go, okay, what do you want to say about this? Like, what do you want to say? And it came through. And then when I would re-look at it I would cry, because I'm like, oh my God, this is brilliant, but I didn't do it. Like, it's, you know what I mean? I'm like, you guys are amazing.
Yes, yes.
So
I have those moments too where I'm like, it's a lot of people would say, it's kind of like an ego moment, but I see it as a confidence moment where you're like, wow, I'm really connected, I'm really tuned, I'm getting such profound information, and you kind of feel so confident in who you are as a being. It creates that moment where you're just like, I can do anything. And then I kind of get like a humbled down, and they're like, okay, you can, but remember, it's us. It's us.
yes, exactly.
We're the ones
There's no I in team. Indeed, it's a team effort.
Exactly.
So you created, so you realized that by just sitting with music, which is what worked for you, did you use a specific frequency, or it was just a healing music that you enjoyed, you found?
So I found a few good ones that I enjoyed on YouTube, but it wasn't anything that was really stimulating me. So what I did was I sat in silence. I wasn't listening to an actual song or anything. That I started singing to myself, started humming. So I started creating my own song. And the more I started going and the more I started changing tones, I could feel the pace move. And at first you kind of think, am I crazy? Am I being possessed? Like, what is happening? But you feel such an overwhelming joy and love that, like, you want to just cry from happiness. It's like, it's really like, this has to be the best thing ever, because how can it not be? And then as soon as I surrendered that and they came through, it was magic. And it's kind of like they were teaching me these moves, but they don't come in all the time. They only came in like, at first it was like twice a year that I ever had that connection. So I kind of wrote down what I did and what movements, and I tried to mimic it, and I tried to sing the same type of song, but I never got it right. I was a bit off key and things like that. And then only after a while I started listening to different kind of Hertz music. Right. Yes, but there's no specific one. I don't have like a specific list. I just go to what I feel guided to. Yeah. And then I started doing it more with, I'm going to be very cheesy now, with Taylor Swift's music. I'm a big Taylor Swift fan. I love her stuff. And I was at that time when she released the Reputation album. And I was like kind of angry at the world, but I was more angry at myself. And I had to deal with this conflict within myself, because I was like, no one's going to do it for you. Nobody's going to come and make sure you're motivating yourself and loving yourself. No one actually outside of the space of myself cares. Yes, your family cares and stuff, but everyone's got their own life. And I was like, I could literally die tomorrow and everyone will have to move on. No one's going to try and force me back from the dead or anything like that. So it was a hard pill for me to swallow, that I'm responsible, and I only look myself in the eye and be like, okay, we have to make a change. And yeah, I started listening to her music, because just by letting it out in that manner, it made me feel powerful. I felt like a woman again. I felt strong. I felt that I could be who I wanted to be, and I can redirect that energy into something good and positive. I don't have to get rid of it. I didn't feel the need to work on my shadow and get rid of it. I felt like this is my shadow. I love it. Yeah, and that's exactly. For me, the biggest conception that a lot of people have about self-love is saying positive affirmations and getting rid of all the stuff. Yes, that helps. That's fantastic. But the best thing is to be able to love your shadow, acknowledge these 100%. Dark parts, because they shape you to who you are. Don't allow yourself to get lost in them, but transmute that energy into something that creates you to be the better version of yourself now. And that is how my journey started.
Exactly. Yeah. So you're having a look at the Mind Your Mind series. You said that you started to take a peek, because the blind spot actually addresses aspects of yourself that you might be mortified. Oh, like, and the example I used in the course is, oh my God, I'm a control freak. I'm trying to control because I'm trying to control my environment. Like, I like a beautiful environment. I like things to be organized. I love tapestries color like this, and like, not clean freak. I mean, I like a clean, beautiful home, right? But anyway,
Yes.
it's very important to love the shadow aspect, because it's just a potential. It's a potential on how you can choose to respond in that moment. And then based on how you respond or react, is going to create your experience.
Exactly.
You go
Yes.
to shadow a reaction, then you're going to get, that's what you're going to get. You're going to get more of that in a response. But if you operate from a higher aspect, even though you could be a biatch about something or lash out or whatever, and you choose not to, no, I'm going to do the higher. That's when we create the next moment that perhaps will be a little more positive. And we don't have to deal with, oh, look at what I created because I reacted without thinking or from the heart.
Exactly. Yes, I kind of felt like, these are the aspects of myself that failed, that, that they never came to light or flourished to what they need to be. And then when I started addressing them, I'm like, okay, failure is only an opportunity to learn. That's it. You never fail. You only learn. You learn what not to do. And instead of judging myself and being like, oh, you were horrible and you should have done this, or you shouldn't have lied, or you shouldn't have done that, I was like, okay, I don't want to be that Natasha. So I've learned I'm not going to judge myself. I don't have to apologize to anybody or make a scene about it, because at the end of the day, it's about my relationship with myself. You can be honest with yourself in such a raw space and no one has to know. And that's the concept that a lot of people don't grab. They feel like you have to share with the whole world and everyone's going to know what you did. And then I think to myself, that's the best part, is your connection with your heart, is your honesty. It's being dead honest with yourself. It's, even if you lie to someone in a moment and you come home, the fact that you need to try and justify, no, I didn't lie, and that's semi-true, you make excuses because you're too ashamed, or you judging yourself to deal with the concept, instead of going, do you know what, I know I lied and that was probably not good, but what I can do is make sure I don't lie again. I'm not going to bash myself on what I did.
Yeah, exactly. I know
yes.
it feels
I
like
acknowledge it was not cool.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yes. I feel like I know it wasn't cool, and I'm not going to judge myself and bash myself. You're a liar, and all these kind of things. I'm gonna the best way to step out of it in a great way is to just acknowledge that, yeah, it is. So what? So what? I was drunk. So what? That happened. However, I know now that going forward, I'm going to treat myself better. I'm not going to put myself in that situation again. And that's when the self-love, that's when you start connecting to the heart, because you start not putting yourself in a perspective above others, but you put yourself in perspective of, what vision do I have for myself? I want to be the happy Natasha before the scorpion sting, who was in the prime of her life, who was always there for everybody, bubbly, funny, having a good time. Everybody loved being around her energy, because it doesn't matter what bad situation happens, she always had a smile on her face. And then I turned into this dark Natasha, who is getting nothing wrong with tattoos, but I've got all of my tattoos there, and I had like shocking pink hair, blue hair, green hair. I went through this phase. I was smoking, drinking, doing different substances, and I was such a nasty person. People didn't want to talk to me. My own family members were like, listen, you're not nice. And I was very mean. And it was because I was being mean to myself. Because when I looked in the mirror, I used to call myself names. I was like, you fat B word, and I'm like screaming at myself. And
I did the same. I used to call myself a fat cow, a fat, ugly cow.
Exactly. I'm like, who would want to love you? And you speak those words of existence into you, because do you know who's believing it? You.
You, exactly.
And then that's where I got to the mindset of, how dare I? How dare I disrespect me? Anyone on the planet can disrespect me or say something ugly. Do you know what? That's their problem, because they're the one that's dealing with that. But how dare I bring that to my own doorstep and put that on my own front porch? And that is where I was like, nah, I don't care about what anyone says, but I care about what I say. And that is how I kind of pushed myself forward. You have to, it's not easy. I mean, there were days I thought I wouldn't make it. But but
Well,
I
I
did.
mean, when you think about it, we as individuals, as an individuation, we are responsible. Who are you getting your counsel from? Who is your guru? Who is your where are you getting your wisdom and guidance from? How are you parenting yourself? So of course, if you're calling yourself a fat ugly cow, like we both did, we just said that, then that's like that's how we would be speaking to our own inner child, our own inner being. And that is cruel and abusive and, like you said, completely unnecessary.
Exactly. But also you create so much power with what you say and what you think about yourself. And how I would say, I don't follow a lot of people because, like you were saying in the beginning, I also got the call to retract from watching what other people were doing. And it was that eyes on your own paper kid, that kind of I need to teach myself, because the only one who truly knows who I am is my highest self.
Exactly.
And or my true self, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't even know who I am at this point. So how can I let other people dictate and tell me? I can learn and take tips, but I mustn't wholeheartedly hold on to that. And I kind of started bringing that in, and it's when you make that connection. So like, for my perspective of how I see the world, and through my sessions talking with my higher selves and how they've explained things to me, and this is going to come kind of into the colors that you mentioned earlier, and I'm going to go a little deeper into that.
Before you go there, let's just give the listeners some context. So your higher selves, you channel the elements.
Yes.
Or elements: water, fire, air, and earth. Okay, yeah, let's.
Yes. So how I want to describe it is, they do come forth as the four elements, but they are very adamant in making it known that they're not the four elements.
Okay.
So the way that we would think of it. So they are, but they're not. So okay. How I will explain it, this is how it was explained to me. So I hope it makes sense. And if anyone else gets an extra download, please let me know. Yeah. But how they explained it was, they are from the eighth dimension, is what they said. So they're like the eight, right? And it's the infinity loop. And it's the two mirrors. So it's 4 and 4 mirroring back to each other and creating a loop. And how they said was, it's like you have these 4 aspects and these 4 aspects. And these aspects together, when they form together, they create physical matter. And they move. So I'm not saying it's only my higher selves. Obviously, everybody stems from the same energy at the end of the day, but this is how they perceive it to me. So they are the flow of energy that started the elements, that created the elements. Okay. So each flow, each star birthed an element out, and that's
it was
why
the original
they came
impulse. Through. They're the original impulse.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes. They like to say that they like the symphony. They're like a symphony of frequencies that come together, and then it starts creating that. So the two of them don't mind coming out as the elements, because they know it's easier for people to digest rather than to go so technical and stuff like that. But the wind aspect, if anyone has ever seen the videos, knows the wind does not like it. The wind is like, oh, do we have to come as elementals? Like,
I think I saw. I think it was like, that seems so silly. Like, what a silly term or whatever. Yeah, humor. They've got a good sense of humor.
It's the only way for our human brains to actually digest it, because even if I'm going to be dead honest, I still don't understand it. Each time they give me more and more information from different sessions, and then my mind is just blown, and I think this is it, and I'm like, yeah, I know who they are, and then they like give me one up, and then I'm like, okay, is this it now? And then it keeps climbing, and I'm at the point where I'm like, do I even care to find out? I just know they're amazing, and I'm grateful for them, because actually this whole existence is such a beautiful, intrigued combination frequency of lights playing out, doing their things, and everything and anything is possible. And it's just about what perception you want to choose for yourself. It's like a sea of endless possibilities, and you get to grab what you choose. And that's how I see it as.
You mentioned in one of the sessions, which really lit a light bulb. It lit up a synapses in my brain when you said it. You talked about, I think it was it'll spark a memory in your mind, but it was connected to the heart frequency, and how the elements that they came through, they were like the ribbons of the colors. So the heart, the chakra color,
Yes.
ribbons, and that made me think about the rainbow. And here's why I think that this is important. I did some meditation training years back, and the trainer, her name was Lisa Gaulis, actually, and she's since transitioned from the planet. But anyway, she had this whole, you're going to do a guided meditation. You're going to walk, across the bridge with water, and whatever the water's doing is going to mean something. And you go down the hill and you knock on a door, and whoever opens the door is going to be your spirit guide. Okay. So I do the meditation, we have the class on a Tuesday. Okay. I do the meditation. I knock on the door, and the Grim Reaper opens the door. The Grim Reaper. So I'm like, what the heck was that? Right. So I go back to the class the next Tuesday, and I tell her, I'm like, well, I did your practice, the homework, but the Grim Reaper answered the door, and she started laughing. I'm like, why are you laughing? And she said, well, Spirit put that there. How would you have created, your spirit guide? And I said, well, he probably would have looked a little bit like Thor, Archangel Michael, really gorgeous or whatever, right? She said, you need to go back and figure out what that was, right? So I go back into the meditation, I knock on the door, and the Grim Reaper opens the door again, and he's like, come on in. He gestures to come in, and I step inside, and he takes his sickle, and he slices me from the right-hand side of my body all the way down my body, and my body dropped off of me like a dress, and all I could see was a rainbow prism of color. It was so beautiful. So there really was this incredible prism of color. And so when your guides talk about ribbons and the chakras, can you talk about that for a second? What do you recall about that?
So what I can remember is, like I say, if I do speak a little incorrectly, I do apologize. Yes. But so how they kind of explained it to me was, each chakra obviously stems in a different color, right? But each color frequency, if we take it from the rainbow, each color on its own is its own dimensional space. So hypothetically, if we had to say the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth dimension, and even throw in the ninth if you want, each one is a color. And in each color is multiple versions of that color. So for example, in blue, you'll get turquoise and all these different kinds of colors and different shades of blue. And so one person can be blue, but they probably stem from different shades of blue, only maybe one. It's like all these different aspects. So everybody has got your chakras. So each one of you, each piece of you, each light, each chakra, each color is stemming from one of those spaces that has created you. So they project out a little rainbow that your heart frequency catches and pushes out, and that is what creates the matter, like, so that we can see colors and atoms and frequencies and things like that. So they kind of call it as, it's not 100% accurate, obviously, the way that I'm explaining it, but I'm trying to put it in a digestible way for people who haven't seen the videos. But if you are more curious, please go watch it, because I think I'll make sure I have the link.
I'll have the link for everybody to be able to find you easily, and we'll also connect with you after as well. We'll talk about that at the end, but please.
Yeah. So, and then each one has their native frequency or their heart song. So it's kind of like your thumbprint. It's very unique to you. It's your energy signature of your higher selves, but all your aspects who have gone through so many journeys, and all the aspects that make up you, because the you that's there now, you're not always that energy. So you could be an energy from your higher self that was here, and energy here, and one piece came together and formed here, and you're a bunch of little pieces from multiple places, and each place plays a frequency from a color, and that is what makes you you. And so how they would explain it is, you need to find your frequency, your color, because some people are multiple shades of blue and went their whole existence going through all the blue timelines, dimensions, planets, universes, whatever you want to call it, you absorb so much information that is what makes you blue. Why you can be blue, because you understand blue from so many different perspectives. And some people are more than one color, some people are only one color, and it's like, it's just depending on what you chose to experience, and that kind of shapes your reality. It shoots out like little rainbows, and this is your energy that you can manipulate and build with. But how everything works 100%, I'm not like too sure, because they give me a digestible piece and then I take it and I'm like, oh, so this is the cake, and they're like, no, that's just a flower. And then they give you another piece and you're like, this the cake, no, it's just an egg. And you're like, okay, but when they get together they form something else. Ooh, hello.
Yeah, we're still here. Can you hear me?
Sorry. Yes. Sorry, guys. South Africa, we have something called load shedding. And so it just keeps dipping.
Yeah,
Yes.
I heard about that, the load shedding. Well, it was in one of your episodes, and the purpose of why it's happening to help. So
I would say I'm quite grateful for it.
Yeah, no doubt. So let's talk about, because I had an aha moment again in one of the sessions with you, when they revealed that we have 2 heart chakras, which makes absolutely perfect sense. Service to self, love of self, completely balanced, right? Not love, but I need to take care of myself, have self boundaries, or solid boundaries. So service to self and service to other. You're my sister, so therefore I love you. You're source. I have to love you.
Yeah.
I used to have it wrong years back, or maybe not say it that way, but you could say that I was wrong-minded, because I could say, I don't really love you, but I like you. And I had it wrong. That's not actually accurate. It's I love you because you're of source, but I might not fancy having a cup of tea with you, but I still love you.
I might not like you enough to want to sit with you, and that's okay.
Yeah, so let's talk about the service to self, service to other, and the whole heart 2 chakra thing, and the colors, because that's probably going to blow people's minds, because we thought this was green and the root was red, but I believe in one of the sessions it was alluded that this glows red when it's awakened and the root glows green. So let's dig into that.
Yeah, that's a mind blowing, right? So if we'll go into that, I don't know where to start. I get so excited. But yeah, so if we have to go in about the heart, the service to self and service to others, is your reflection of yourself is your reflection with others. So that is the mirror point, right? So your service to yourself is going to be your service to others. So it is just the reflection of the opposite and how you carry your energy. And so it's about service to self is not being selfish or taking from others. And a lot of people have a misconception about that, because it has always been seen as such a darker aspect. The service to self is to really acknowledge yourself. I was kind of shown like a picture, like if you see like as above, so below, right? So below is service to self, and as above is service to others. Because so below, you go more inward in yourself, you go smaller, you realize who you are, and then how connected you are through everything, because you are yourself. You are unique. You are the aspect that you are. And then you go move into service to others, is then when you see, okay, but everything is me and I am everything. Therefore, I'm going to respect and treat everything the way I want to be treated.
So it's kind of like you have to come into the self in order to discover the I am, I'm an individual, but you have to understand the bigger aspect in order to understand that I'm an individuated soul as well as part of the whole. I'm both.
Exactly.
Kind of like of source, because it doesn't exist and it's at the same time. Like, wow.
Yes, it's mind blowing, right? And I love the whole way of seeing it, because you truly cannot have service to others if you do not love yourself. And that is a service to self, because if you love yourself enough to look after yourself, to make sure that even when because you, like almost like the way you said in the beginning, you are parenting yourself. Look, we are human beings. We have to remember that, yes, we stem from great places, but right now, in reality, this existence where we're busy talking from, we are human beings. whether we like it or not. Doesn't matter where I came from, what past life, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm a human being right now. I'm Natasha.
I created
deny it.
realms in the 17th dimension, and I do this and that.
Yes.
Well,
Exactly.
you're in a meat suit now, right? You're in a human meat suit.
Exactly. And I am Natasha, whether I like it or not. Yes, I stem from different energies, but I am Natasha. And that is what makes me unique. And I need to love Natasha. I need to love the existence of Natasha, because right now she's the one that is in this experience. And I get to be her in this experience. And I need to love her in order to love the experience. And once you create that love, you unlock your heart. So how it was kind of explained to me, I have the full details, because like I said, I'm getting piece for piece back, and everything gets revealed more in the sessions because they enjoy that.
Oh, we can always, hopefully we'll come back and we can have another conversation. So we can get more clarity as we go. So it's all good.
Yeah, which is fantastic. It's like you can never stop learning, right?
Exactly.
So it's like to kind of, they locked the vessels. So after I don't know what event it was, what actually happened, but there was a whether it was Atlantis or 94 or whatever, they never really told me, but they said that there was kind of this event that happened to the whole human race where everything started to go to the way the experience was not planned. Right. And humans were abusing the privilege of being able to stem from these different places. Basically, like you're a Stargate, right? You're drawing your past lives through frequencies, through what is interacting with your chakras. It's all the universe is happening inside you, and therefore you're projecting it outside you. Like everything is a mirror within a mirror at the end of the day. It's the best way that I can digest it.
Yeah, and you know,
it's kind of like,
sorry. I get excited like you.
No, please.
What I saw last night in contemplating our conversation today is they showed me that the heart actually inside the body is like the center of the Milky Way galaxy. It runs all body systems. It runs it all.
Exactly.
Once that's done, you're done.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's why if your heart stops beating, you don't exist anymore, you know? And it's like they locked it by switching the two around so that we would not ascend past a certain point until we as a race was ready. Because the way that they perceived it to me is that the earth was very dense at that time, you know, when this all happened. And the higher the light is on a dense planet, it doesn't mean that the world was evil or anything like that. It just means that if the light was too strong, it could hurt people. Yeah. It's like, take from Dolores' book, From the Convoluted Universe, right? Where she was, I think it was in the second book. And she was talking about the lady who was the Sphinx, and how she was wearing gold and transmuting healing energy, touching a crystal and feeding it to people. And then the one day she took off her gold, washed her hands or something like that. And then she forgot to put on her gold bracelets again, because the gold helped to dumb down the energy so it doesn't hurt people. And she touched a guy and he literally exploded. And that's why they stoned her to death. And then they felt bad, and then they made the Sphinx out of, like, in honor of her, you know. So it's because that energy is just such a higher vibration. That's why the higher selves couldn't come down. And even now, take it to like 5 years ago, right? The higher selves couldn't even come 100% into the existence, because not that it would hurt them, but it would hurt you. Yeah. I mean, even me sometimes when I channel after session, my body aches. You know, my body's quite sore. And it's because of that mass amount of light, that glow that comes out. So it's kind of like, that's why you need to eat right and look after your body. It's not that they're trying to give you rules, but they're like, if your body's not strong enough to hold the light, you're gonna go. You know, because it's a mass surge of energy that flows through your body. So that's why they trickled down and created aspects and guides and God guides from different planes to kind of help us along, so that we can still evolve and grow. But at that stage, we were going in the opposite direction of what. So
they locked the vessel. They locked the vessel, which impacted. So let's talk about what happened with the heart chakra, and then let's dive into, because I 100%. I've actually watched a video, because you talked about, we have the ability to fly. This is like it's about the superhuman, right? Because dreams where I'm practicing flying. Like I'm actually having a lucid dream where I'm practicing learning how to fly, and I can like sense it like I'm trying to use, but we don't need wings. I actually watched a video of a fellow who had a porch cam, like a porch camera, and he locked his he took a few steps down his pathway and then shot off into the sky like a star. And that was from Cab. Fellow's name is Cab, and he channels the Pleiadians. But I watched the video. So let's talk about, they locked the vessel to make sure that because you can't have access to power, just like in Spider-Man, with great power comes responsibility.
Great responsibility.
You can't do harm, right? It's do no harm. So how did you come with the heart chakra? And then let's dig into the technology of,
it's kind of like, what everybody needs to understand is there literally is no good or there's no evil. There's just perceptions. It's how you perceive it. Anything is possible. If you believe there's a pink donkey with the tiara running around with a knife, that's probably happening somewhere. The source is such a vast light that anything is possible. And our source of our universe is just an extension of the greater source. There's multiple universes and things that will rack your brain if you actually try to digest it. That's why I say you really have to be humbled in thinking about like your cell in the body of source. Like one of my little cells is Natasha right there vibrating, doing her thing.
Right. The other term that has been used before that I really resonate with is, God's house has many, many mansions, many realities,
many dimensions, many places.
Yeah, because if you think about it, oh my gosh, if you just even if you think about my own individual experience, how much I've forgotten in my own experience, in my own awareness, how much of this conversation will I forget? Am I aware of what's down the hallway over there? And then you think about we need 8 billion perspectives happening all at once on this planet to get it gives you like a micro dot of an idea of the vastness of creation.
Exactly. It's all happening at the same time in the same place. That's why a lot of people get affected by energy and frequencies and they don't understand it or get like these waves of depression, because it might not even be you. It could be just that the dimensional spaces are continuously moving and something could be moving over your space. It's not even interacting with you, but because you're sensitive, you pick it up and you don't know how to digest it. So a lot of empaths struggle with that. That's why, yes, they don't like to go out with people, but sometimes environments and places makes them uncomfortable because of these dimensional shifts. It's continuously moving. Nothing is standing still. It's like, I like to think of it as like a giant ocean. And then each dimension or something's like a fish or a shark or something swimming, everything is just moving in its own ecosystem. And sometimes things interact with each other and sometimes things don't. It doesn't make everything bad. At the end of the day, energy doesn't die. So yes, it's a traumatic for us to feel the emotions and things like that. But from the higher perspectives, they're like, what is the harm? So you have a bad experience. This is to teach you something. And then we're like, okay, well, that's how it goes. And so everything is a mirror. Everything is a mirror. That's the best way.
It's true. So, because, and the people that are in your life, the people that are you are going to reflect your own kind of way of being. Because if we go to the heart for a second, what's really cool about the heart, and this is what the Heart Math Institute teaches about heart, is with every heartbeat, a spark of electricity is created. And by default, this is physics, mathematics. When electricity is created, an electromagnetic field is around us. So you're talking people can feel bad or depressed and have anxiety, and it's not even their own stuff. It's not even their own emotion, because their energy field, right? We think we have the tool or the technology rather that can measure it about 3 to 4 feet, but we know it goes miles. Because when you and I into each other, our hearts are connected. We could feel each other across thousands and thousands of miles.
And that's when you can send healing energy to people. And that's the thing is, anything is possible to what you allow. If you don't believe that can't happen, then it won't happen. But if you believe it could, exactly. And so
that's the actual definition of placebo. If you believe If you believe it's
you will perceive.
be your experience. This is it's the same as like Einstein. This is what I like to say to people. You either think that everything is a miracle, meaning that source is mystical and magical, and there's so much wonder, and you're like a child, going, oh wow, I can't believe that happened, or that's possible, right? Or you believe that nothing is a miracle, which really means there is no energy. There's only, it's like a dud. It's dead.
And what you perceive is what's going to jump at you. So if you believe that the human race existence and everybody is bad and everyone's evil and there's only evil things on the earth and there's the cabal and there's this and there's this, you're going to see that stuff.
That'll be your experience.
Exactly. But if you believe, you know what, I am a multidimensional being, I get to control my reality, I get to see things, and then a whole new door opens for you, and those things become like so blasé because you're like, whatever. That's allowed to exist on your dimensional space, buddy, but not on mine. And that's exactly. A lot of things is happening because we are actually all so many dimensional beings being in one space. And that is such a beautiful thing because it's not always like that. If you really go in deep about different planets and different places, certain places only get one emotion or one type of race of beings. We are literally so many different types. We are also so many types in our own existence. What I was like learning into now, like the last couple of days, is going slightly deeper in the fact of we are so many different beings from different timelines from our planet. So there's the Mandela Effect, like there's people who had a timeline where Hitler never existed, and they're sitting across from like someone like me who in my timeline it did. Now, who's right or wrong? None of us. There's some people who say in their timeline Jesus never existed, but like for me, I'm like, okay, in my timeline he did. So we are all being drawn together in one space, and it's to literally say, yes, if you're from a different place, you have a different timeline, you're not right or you're not wrong. There is no right and there's no wrong. There's just experience. That's just what you experienced, and that is what it's about at the end of the day. And that's why they lock the vessels, because at this stage, as I understand it, like I said, I don't know if this is like 100% factual. Like I said, everybody got their own information on stuff, but as I understood it was, the human race, we weren't just humans, we different groups of humanoids who ascended from this planet and then moved on, and then a new one starts and moves on, and you got like the Atlanteans and everybody like that, and the Mirian and all that. I don't have a lot of information on them, but my whole point is there were so many different beings. This planet has been running for so much longer than what we think. It's not like we're not the first. This is not the first time. We're not the first beings. Civilization has ended and started. Like we literally are not the first. We must kind of pull that hat off and be like, okay, humble down. This is something that keeps going. It keeps creating, right?
Yeah.
So at that stage, they were allowed to experience whenever this catastrophe happened. I don't know what exact event. They don't want to tell me. I'm sure I'll find out through one of the sessions eventually. But when this thing happened, it was allowed in the sense of going, yeah, it's not a great experience for everybody, but let's see what we learn from this, because source is never ending learning, going, okay, let's see what happens. Because at the end of the day, yes, it's traumatic in our lifetime, but when we go back up and we all become back with source, it's fine again. It's like a blip. It's like just a second of what is happening, right? Yeah. And so when this happened, people embodied their energy too much, in the sense of now they were like trying to mess with different ecosystems, different dimensions, create their own dimensional spaces. And the dimensional space is kind of like the way that the heart moves with the electromagnetic field. If you go to how the stars move, and like I said, like the Milky Way, everything is moving in a precise degree off from each other and existing. So if you want to come now and shove something extra in there, you're actually throwing not one thing, but everything. Off balance. Right. So they started tampering stuff that they were not ready to do, because it's messing with everything, not just one thing, and you mess with that universe, and that universe messes with all the others, and it just keeps going back. So what they did was they ended it, they stopped it, and then they locked all the vessels so that no one could get that power again in that time period to create this effect, so that literally all energy could just keep going as it was going.
Right.
So I'm very curious to know what event. A lot of people have been saying, oh, maybe it was 94. I have like no information on that to date, so I don't know really about that.
Oh, you mean like the 94, the Draco invasion kind of thing, or something like a war, something happened? Something happened.
Yes.
You know, there's a gal named Linda McGillis, and I believe she's she's a walk-in as well. And I think she was sharing something to the effect of they opened, perhaps through CERN or whatever, they opened up something.
Yes, or they tried to make a space. Like how I was getting information is when I watched that, I didn't resonate with it in a deep level, like, oh yeah, this happened, but I resonated with the fact of, yeah, I know that they were tampering with something, that this kind of event did take place, you know. Yeah. But I'm very curious to find out more about it, like everybody else. So that's definitely one of my next questions for a session, so everyone stay tuned for that one. I would definitely like to grasp more, you know, because you learn more about yourself as a being of like what you've gone through. And it's just to go to that point of, it's not about good or evil. It's just about there's one golden rule, basically. And the golden rule is don't mess with another's free will. Yeah. Everybody has the right to experience. Yeah. If this thing dies,
no, I can still hear you. Now I can still hear you, and it's one of the prevalent teachings from the guides, and it's like, you have the right to be just as you are, just as
exactly.
I love what you say.
Others have that too. Yes,
I love the eyes on your own paper. Like if people more about their own stuff, and instead of like you're doing, it's got to be.
Look, there's no judgment. If you feel comfortable and resonate more with a darker aspect and a darker way of life, kudos to you. You're allowed to. You're allowed to, because do you know what? You're that being who's giving that experience, and you're teaching all the energy around you. So other energies like myself or energies that are busy watching the planet don't have to step into that existence. That's what a lot of people don't understand. So don't feel like you judge yourself if you feel to call with darker things, but don't get lost in it. Don't take another's free will. Don't kill anybody. Don't sacrifice things. You know,
harm.
I have. Exactly. You're allowed to experience that yourself, but don't drag others into your experience. Like, I'm allowed to experience love and light the way that I want to, but I mustn't go around now shunning people because you don't believe what I believe. Exactly. We're all allowed to believe our own thing. We all believe the same thing, actually, at the end of the day. It doesn't matter what religion, what race. We all talk about the same things, you know? And it's to stop trying to get your perception on someone else, because your perception is never going to be the same. It's like my fingerprint. It's unique. My perception through Natasha's eyes of what happened with Natasha is going to be so unique to me. People can resonate with me, but no one's going to have that 100% same perception. So who am I to say your perception is wrong? It's like to say, if you're green and I'm blue, I can't say that you're wrong, because you're just another color in the rainbow, and I'm also just another color from a bigger aspect, you know?
Exactly. The judgment thing is huge, and the forgiveness piece is huge too, because it's like we all agreed to come here and have this. Pardon?
That's where it is. The judgment is only because no one is walking around the whole day going, oh yeah, Natasha, look at that. It's me. I'm the one carrying that. I'm the one creating a story that's not even there, thinking everyone's judging me and everybody's thinking like this. And like everyone's like, I'm just trying to survive, pay bills on a planet that I didn't ask to like be enslaved into. And that is my vision of enslavement. Yeah, it's not that we are physically enslaved, but we're mentally enslaved by believing that we have to pay rent and do all these things on this planet. What animal does a bird pay to go sit in a tree? No, they don't.
No, we're beginning to realize that. Yeah, we're beginning to realize.
Yes, it's not even about. Yeah, it's not about you. It's not about me. It's about this one. It's about Gaia. You know, we are visitors here. We do not own the property. We don't own the oceans. We don't own the space. Just because we are a species who can think from a higher ability, who gives us the right to say that this is our planet that we own? This planet is an entity on her own. this planet has created life and birthed many different races, many different beings from millennia. This planet formed and shaped itself. And how dare we think that it's ours and I get saved that it's mine? Because guess what? I'm eventually going to die. I'm not invincible. So the earth is going to carry on even when I'm not here. And it's to have that respect of saying, I'm going to respect the space and everything that's in the space for my experience. And thank you for giving me the tools to have my experience, but I'm going to leave it the way I found it. And that is what it's about. That's what the slave mentality is about. It's about keeping us in this mindset of it's ours, greedy, mine, 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 mine. In the meantime, it's not mine, it's ours. And we have to play on the same field. Does that make sense?
100%, because as soon as we attach to things and cling and fight and whatever, we know it's going to get ripped from our hands. So I
exactly
hold on to things as loosely as you would water. Just allow it to flow.
Also, how do you appreciate something if you've never lost it? And that is the beautiful thing, because when I was going through a lot of childhood trauma and things, my eldest brother died when I was really young, and that hit a really big part for me, because I struggled because, suddenly he's young and the next moment he's gone. And he died when I was 9 years old. And that was quite traumatic because we were quite close. Our whole family was quite close.
How old was your brother?
Sorry?
How old was your brother?
He was 14 when he died. Yeah,
14,
he was 14.
Yeah. So he would have been hugely important for you at that age. Your older brother, right? Huge.
Yes. I'm the youngest. I'm the youngest out of 6.
Okay, wow. I'm the youngest out of 3. Yeah.
Yeah. So a big family. We're all very loud and proud, and I love it. I love being in that environment. But it was kind of like, now I only have one brother left, and the rest of us are girls. So I have so many sisters, but now it's like I lost that big brother, and it was very hard for me to digest, and I was very angry for a long time, because why did he have to go? Why couldn't someone who was raping children or hurting people, why couldn't someone like that go? And when I started going through my awakening, that was one of the things that I had to deal with. And they were like, how would you appreciate your family now, and what happened? And I know that, yes, for our purpose, he did something specific, because in one of my sessions, they kind of went deeper into why he died. But in that stage of my healing, it was like, that actually brought me closer to value my brother and value my sisters and value my mom and everybody, and speak to them kindly, not just once or twice, but on a daily basis, because I never knew when was the day that they weren't going to come back. Because literally, Sean walked out the door, he went down to the river to swim, and we were like, see you in 10 minutes, and then whoops, he never came back. He had an epileptic attack. Yes. So yes, that was his name.
My partner's same name.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he was spelled S-E-A-S.
Oh, he's S-H-A-W-S-H. So do you want let's go back. I'm just looking at the time here. So let's just, maybe we can end the
I get distracted
about no, this is wonderful. Maybe we can, because we were talking about how different people can tune into their hearts. You were curious about the perspective on how I show people to tune in. Or do you want to talk on that, or do you want to talk a little bit about the colors, and how would you help me understand my own colors if somebody was to reach out to you for a session? What can you, do you want to maybe do that with me, and then people can get an idea of what that work is, or is it more complicated than that?
Yeah. So how I would how I would explain it is, it's difficult, because I get told that, okay, I'm going to teach and I'm going to help different things, but I'm also just learning as I go. We all are. And to connect to the heart, I feel like it's something I've always had, and I don't really know how to describe it to people and things like that. And then I started going a little bit more deeper into, okay, what can I perceive from it? So I'm just going to give my perception. I know that some people are going to connect differently or feel differently, but I'm going to try and be as accurate as possible. But connecting to your native frequency is literally feeling the frequency of your body, and not the frequency that you're vibrating at, of like, oh, are you at 100 hertz or 525 hertz? It's about your frequency of your emotional body and where that is. So it's that your emotional body has the emotion that plays out, but before that you have the intention. The intention sets the wave of what emotion or what perception you're going to grab from it. So how I see it is you kind of just relax yourself, but you focus on your heartbeat, because this moment your heartbeat, you kind of try and feel that, because it's that 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 kind of a do 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 do. So you're feeling your heart. And a lot of people, the way it works is from your different you different things that you stem from. I don't want to say elements, but I'm going to use them now. So like each element, so let's say it's like fire, wind, water, and earth, right? So let's say, because my main one is water, so let's say this is water. So for me it's like 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4, where another person it will be, okay, let's go with wind, and it will be like 1 2 3 4 1 2. So on your kind of
your own rhythm, listening to your own rhythm, trying to feel your own internal rhythm.
Yes, so you connect different, and everybody's rhythm is actually off. So if I had to stand next to you and feel your heartbeat, and you had to stand next to me, our heartbeats are not going in sync. Our heartbeats are off. So it's like catching what is your tempo, what's your base of your frequency going. And once you can grab that and you feel it, it needs to be at a calm pace. Right. And once you start channeling from outside forces, or you're not in the right space, or you're doing something wrong, your heart rate will go up. And once it starts being faster, something's not right. You want to be in that calm kind of state, because even when you start glowing from the inside, your true self is you. So your heart stays normal. Does that make sense? Like that's just a very important.
Yeah. And then so what I'm going to do, I'm going to add now just the science to it, just to kind of dovetail off of what you're sharing from a different perspective. What we do is teach people to focus on the area of their heart so they can hear their heartbeat, right? Because most people, I actually have a stethoscope. So I have with some, I'll get people to actually put that on because they've probably never heard it before, and then understand that it's their life force. Without that, their hum doesn't, there's no song in the bird, right? There's no song of the bird. Yeah. So we get to focus the attention on the area of the heart, and then activate that feeling of gratitude. And what that does is it alters, like you talked about, high heart rate and a more relaxed heart rate. What it does when you're in I'll say positive, just for the use of the word, grateful, I'm enjoying my life, I'm having a wonderful day, I'm so grateful for things that are happening. It alters the heart rate variability, which is the difference in time between each heartbeat. The longer or the more variable it is, really, really long, really short, really long, medium, ba-boom, 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 ba-boom. It gives you a heart rhythm, a variability. And so what they can do is, just by looking at your rhythms from a science perspective, they can tell what your state of being is and your mortality based on witnessing the frequency or the rhythm of the heart, the song of the heart. So we practice getting into a high state of coherence by actually what you're literally doing is you're soothing and calming the nervous system, slowing down the getting rid of all the static.
Moving your frequency through your tissue, moving it through your body.
Right, so that the heart can tune in clearly and hear clearly without static. And then it sends messages to the brain that is very clear. Slow down the rhythm, rest and digest, heal the lymphatic system, make some amino acids and IL-2. And that's when the Milky Way. Yeah, exactly. Clean up on IL-2. That's when the heart can orchestrate, like a symphony, like you said, the body's functions for optimal. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And say, like, the first time I tried to get connected with my heart is I'd have to look in the mirror for a little bit of a while, and I'd be like, where are you? Where's the light in there? I know you're in there. And then I get that rush of joy. It took a bit at first to get it, but now all I have to do is, and I'm there. You're in that field. It's like the picture they're showing me is like, imagine all musical notes playing above. About that before, but it's like you're hooking yourself like an umbrella. You're hooking yourself that love note, and you're being carried by that rhythm. If
I love that. That's a beautiful way of saying it.
Yeah, so
it's wonderful. My step is not as beautifully said, but how I started was I started lying down on the bed, and I just literally closed my ears, pinched my ears closed, and the sound I just started hearing it, do, 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 do. And then I tried to follow the sound and try and like, instead of visualizing like something from my third eye or anything like that, I've never really been good with pictures. I don't get a lot of visions or anything like that. But I try and see and try and put my perspective, because it's like kind of the way I can explain it is I'm sitting now. If I close my eyes, I can feel I'm in a room, right? And I kind of try to bring that perspective in, feel only me inside my body. And then I follow that heartbeat and I go into my heart. And when I go in there, that's when the magic happens. Then I can feel the energy around me moving. I actually kind of feel like a figure of 8 pool. I feel like I'm swaying, like I'm going both directions, not just to one side, but to the other side. And I kind of feel the different chakras. And I first thought this was maybe because I was maybe like unaligned or something like that. But the more I go into it, it's like I can feel the one on the left. Everybody's one is different. It's not on the same spot. The middle one is, but I know that they say that the one on the left side could be a little bit more in, a little bit more out, just depending on you as a person and your body and size and all that. And a fun fact with that, your thymus gland, which is the master gland of like the lymphatic system, which breaks up and becomes a T white blood cells and becomes your immune system and everything like that. When that breaks, when you're in the womb, it is formed right here in the left side. And while your body is going, only after you, I think it is about 6 months, it starts moving and goes and sits above the actual heart. So it gets developed here and it moves over into the front, which I thought was pretty cool, because the only way it breaks apart as a kid for you to build the immune system is by your mom's heartbeat. That's why it's important for mothers to hold their babies, because it breaks that gland apart so that it can break up and like form into the body. So I thought that was just like a unique thing to
So yeah, let's talk about that for a second, because the heart, people have thought that it's just a pump. It's just an organ that pumps blood. It actually doesn't pump blood, because there's a fellow named Frank Chester. He's an artist actually, and he discovered a chestahedron, which is actually the sacred geometry of the heart. He just purely by he's an artist and started looking like, how does this work? Because he was trying to figure out the chambers and how are there 2 chambers. So he used cones. One of the outside ones wraps around it. But the point of that is, what we do know is that sound can do anything. Sound can do anything. So that native frequency of our heartbeat can literally create, because it's tied into the rhythm, the ribbons of the colors, it creates our external world. And then when you go back to belief, so if you believe, this is why it's so important to get your mind right. If this is right, and you've got your heart open, you're golden, you're fine, because this can play tricks on you. It can tell you.
Do you know how I see it as your belief is not your mind. I believe it as your belief is your heart, because you can tell yourself 100 things, right? You can be positive and try to believe yourself to be happy. But if you don't feel happy, then you're not happy. So I feel like it is to do with the mind, because your thoughts sway you into a thing, but your belief is that feeling, that first feeling, that initial feeling that you have. Because if you truly feel like it's right, then it's right. If you feel like it's wrong, it's wrong. If you feel like what I believe is this, then that is what it is. It's that feeling before it becomes a thought, because the more I get information, there's so many aspects to it that you kind of have to break it down.
Yeah.
Does it make sense?
What I would add to that is the idea of beliefs is that you basically practice the thought over and over and over again, that you finally adopt it as
feeling it.
You've practiced it so often, and that might take a while for it finally to like, okay, I actually believe it today. Yesterday.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. Because I had like this mic that I was using in my iPhone, but my battery is now also flat. So now I'm plugged it in so it doesn't die
No, no,
because
you're
we
good.
can't have another blackout.
No, it's all good. I had a quick peek just to make sure. So we obviously I'm going to edit this, but yeah, due to that little temporary break in power, we got disconnected. But what we were talking about was
Yeah,
belief. I was just sharing that the idea of belief is a thought
yes,
over and over and over again until you finally adopted it, you believed it, and like you said, now it's locked and loaded in your heart.
yes, yes. And now you feel it, and it starts becoming your reality because you're feeling it. You're sending out that frequency through your heart chakra, through your heart. You are lacing that intent on top of your song, and your song is now playing around you and attracting everything to you, and then that becomes your reality, basically.
So how would you then guide me to find out what my colors are? How would that happen? Because I think you said that you don't tell people what their color is, but you help them find it themselves.
Yes. So what I'm doing is as I'm going along with everything, I'm learning in the moment as well. So I'm starting to make my own YouTube series where everything I learn, I immediately make a video and post and go on like that. So how I've started, like I said, different people connect in different ways, is by helping them to create that space where they go into the heart. So like what I was saying earlier is where you bring your perception. So that's after you've connected and you feel your heartbeat and you start feeling your body vibrate, you feel like this glow coming out from the inside out. It's always from the inside out. And you start zoning your attention from your room into your vessel, and from your vessel into your heart. And when you're in your heart, you see there's like a bright white light, and it's got a color. It's like a light tint of a color. Like I see a very light blue color, like a white light with like a blue tint. Many other people have seen a green tint, a red tint, a purple tint. Some have seen orange. So in my opinion, that is your color that you stem from. Everybody has to stem from some sort of color. You still interact with all the colors. Doesn't mean just because I've got blue that I'm only blue, you know. The way I like to perceive is each chakra is a version of you somewhere stemming from that color, and your rainbow body is your field. And this field is from all your chakras being aligned in all those aspects of yourself, and that creates your rainbow body around you. And then your heart grabs that rainbow field and kind of throws it into your reality and creates your reality. So you kind of got like this action going and then like this action happening at the same time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and does each so the ribbons of the colors of the rainbow that are our colors, the unique shades of the chakras, they represent dimensional realities, but they would also represent aspects of ourselves too that is swirling. So if you're a lot red in the root, if your root is not grounded and you're not comfortable in your own skin, then perhaps that red would go out and grab more of what you need into your experience to be grounded or to help you balance.
Yes, look, there's multiple ways of looking at it, but how the one thing that's going to blow your mind down is kind of like I'm still trying to digest this information, is that the only two colors that are locked in is the root and the heart, right? Okay. Your third eye doesn't have to be like a purple color. Some people can have an orange third eye. All your different chakras can be different colors. You switch them to your ascension, and it's like a Chinese puzzle box that you unlock your own rainbow. So different groups of people who've come to this earth. So, you get a lot of people like, I vibe with my tribe, or I'm from the soul group, or from like Scorpios, and I'm a Leo, and I'm a this, So different groups, we stem from the same areas, and we have the same type of rainbow frequencies. So it's very... Yes. So that's the whole misconception. That was the lie. That was the thought that was planted into our thoughts, is that we all have to be the same. all the chakras have to be the same colors. And we've got more chakras than that. I mean, we've got 2 chakras on our hands, each side, on your knees as well, and behind the base of the skull.
That is what I wanted to talk to you about, because it's really bizarre. This is just my weirdness in my vessel. My hand and my knees, the front of my knees, is where I have a lot of energy. So if I'm working out, you can feel it. I sweat from my knees and from here, which is so bizarre. It's weird. Hey?
Well, that means that they're open and they're working.
I'm
not 100% sure what is their function and things like that, but I'm pretty sure it has to do with your movement in your reality and things like that. That's why it's on the hands, the feet, and like your left side of your body is so important on its own than the right. If we have to go look at anatomy, like let's go back to like the heart, right? The blood. A lot of people think your blood is the most purest thing in your body, where actually it's your lymph, it's your lymphatic system, and your blood is the filterization process of taking. So this lymphocyte cell takes this package to the lymph node. The lymph node breaks it into 2, that all the deoxygenated aspects go into the left side of the body, into the deoxygenated blood, and the others go, and then the others is the oxygenated blood, and it goes back into that stream, and that's how your body filters it out. And then your blood goes in between your tissue and then rises up again to the surface as it sips out and becomes the lymphocyte again. So your bloodstream is basically this filterization system of the lymph. If we take it one step deeper, if you break down all the terms and all the fancy names and things like that, if you really like step completely back, everything in your whole vessel is lymph. Everything starts from water. That's why water creates life, right? There's that movement of the first water. So your heart is the original, but each system on its own vibrates at their own frequency, and they link to the heart. So the 4 different chambers of the heart gives to different sends out different frequencies, like I said, like with the beat, like with the 1, 2, 3, 4 and things, to different areas of your body. So like the digestive tract has its own song within your body, within the frequency, to create it like that moves the water and the tissue to be at that frequency. So your heart's like the main one, and then it's got little mini ones in between, and that's how everything starts to break down.
That's amazing. So you were talking about dry brushing. I was sharing, as I say, there are some movements in yoga, Kundalini yoga, that can be used not only to clear out the blockages and to move using the, but dry brushing, because of your Scorpio bite and what you've got going on here.
Yes.
A very precise approach to supporting your lymphatic system in order for you to continue enjoying your life, right? So what is show us what the dry brushing is, just so folks at home can learn what they can do to support their own lymphatic system on their own.
So it's a brush that you get. So it looks almost like a horse brush, and you just brush the surface of the skin very lightly. I actually have one. Do you want me to
go grab it.
And so body brushing is actually the most easiest effective way, because it brings oxygen back to the surface. So your oxygen sits more in your tissue, doesn't sit in your bloodstream, so it's to create those vessels to start moving, which then moves the fluid, which also by the movement of your cardiovascular system can assist the lymph as well with movement. So this is what a body brush looks like. Looks like just a normal,
pretty soft.
It looks almost like a horse brush.
Yeah, it looks like
a little soft
horse brush. Yeah, soft bristle. Okay.
Yeah. No, it's not soft. It's more of a harder bristle.
Okay.
Yes. So you'll feel it will scratch, and some people will go quite red because it is not too hard, but it's not soft. You don't want a soft bristle. The one that I like to use is a natural cactus bristle, just because I don't like using plastic and things like that, because like I said earlier, your lymphatic system is like the ocean of your body, and I feel that if you're going to, you must watch what you put in your ocean. Even if you use plastic items, it still sinks into your body. And so I try to avoid all that, but every person to their own.
So you said a cactus bristle, but if you don't have cactuses in Canada, but what would be the other one that you would recommend? Like a horsehair brush, or?
Yes. So obviously there are many types. Some people like boar bristle as well. You also get like I said, the synthetic ones, which are made from recyclable plastics and things like that. They do work well, but I personally just don't like them.
Try to
It's not
find a
that there's
natural
anything
fiber.
bad.
Yeah, try to find a natural
Yes,
fiber.
yes,
Okay, that's cool. And then it's just basically you're
yeah,
brushing towards the heart, aren't you? On
yes.
the
So
legs.
yeah, so the legs you're always going to flush out because your main lymph nodes in the legs are behind the kneecap and in the groin. So behind the kneecap is the popliteal. So what happens is that is the one that flushes everything back up because your body has got non-return valves in the legs. So it pushes, your body's always going to push all the major dirt and grime the furthest away from your body. So it will push it down towards your feet. That's why people's feet swell first when they get edema or anything like that. It's trying to push it away from any organs and tissues. Now, then you come up to the linguinal, which is more up towards your groin, and that is the direct link that flushes to your urinary tract. And also the upper linguinal gets flushed in towards the bottom half of your colon to also try and process things out. But usually anything that bypasses through the colon will first go through the spleen, which is your largest lymph node in your body. So you're always going to flush up towards your hips. I like to take it over the hip and then flush to the front because else I like to think of it as these are little balls of dirt, basically, right? All your toxins, it can be anything that your body doesn't want. And like we said in the beginning, it creates adipose tissue, so it creates a little capsule. Now, I have found with a lot of my clients that I work with on a daily basis when we brush, some of them want to get more voluptuous. So they want to build more of a booty or a chest area, especially some ladies who've lost after any kind of breastfeeding, anything like that, they kind of lost their boobs, basically, and they want to pump them up. And if they brush and then they leave that there, it starts filling up and plumping because this is an artificial fat in your body, adipose tissue, which so you can actually move this tissue around, and some women build over their muscles and then can make bigger hips and things like that. So if you don't want that, I always say take it over and flush to the front because the lymph only flush on the front half of the body, not on the back. So behind the knee is kind of like a substation, and in the elbow as well. Your substations is where the main dirt gets pushed out the furthest. That's why you'll find that people have problems with their lymph or have knee problems first because the popliteal will swell out behind and it will actually put pressure on the meniscus and the patella inside of the kneecap, and that's why a lot of people's knees blow out. And if you go look, I can't give you the accurate percentage now, but I think it was like 72% of any kind of knee problems is always the left knee. And the left side of your body is responsible for the draining and the right side is responsible for the feeding. So then you know it's a problem in your lymphatic system if it starts on the left side. Because then the draining can't happen.
So you mentioned about the hips around the back and to the front and down towards the groin, there. This is it away from you or is it to your armpit? Up, okay. So and from the knees, are you brushing to the front? What are you doing with the knees? How are you brushing the knees?
So you're gonna brush from the front of your leg kind of to the back of your knee. So you're gonna go, if this was now if this is my knee and this is my shin now, you're kind of gonna brush to the back of my calf. Then from my calf, you're gonna flush up. Then from behind the knee, you're gonna flush forward. So you're creating this effect going at the back and then you're coming back up because that's how your draining system works. So the only time your lymph is active behind your body will be there by your knee and also in your lower back area. But I'll explain that one when I get there. So you're going to just flush up. Some people have trouble in the mornings to actually do a whole full routine. So I always say, as long as there's something, it's better than nothing. So if you just take it from any angle, just brush your legs up. And it doesn't have to be long. You can brush 2 or 3 times over the area. This can literally take you a minute a day. It's not even that long. You just brush up. When you get to the hip, you're going to brush over the hip in towards the groin. The abdomen area, you want to go from the right to the left, because this is how the digestive tract works. You actually assist it in the breakdown. So you can do that circular. So you're going to go from the ascending colon into the descending colon. You can do that circular movement, or you can brush right up, so under the rib cage, leave it there, and then you brush your arms in. Okay, brush your arms in. And then from there, you're actually going to brush under your rib cage in towards the middle abdomen, because you've got the most lymph nodes here. And these are the lymph nodes that actually exchange out your respiratory tract, which is the quickest way of draining out the body. And it happens almost instantaneously. That's why a lot of people struggle with their breath, because these lymph nodes get so congested that if you actually feel on the middle of your rib cage, some people have like sensitivity there because they're so swollen, because they're not exchanging. And it's just about moving that fluid to go to a different lymph node, and it will start moving. So just because it's congested there doesn't mean there's actually a problem. It's just there might be a little traffic jam. And lymph are like little ants. They just sit and wait. So you just need to move the circulation. And the back of the body, you go up and you come over the shoulder to the front, because your thoracic ducts sit here and here. So the left thoracic duct is only responsible for draining the heart and the brain, which I find super fascinating, which no other organ or tissue will drain there. So it's always only that, specifically for that, so that if it starts getting clogged up, your body can work its way through to prevent any kind of toxicity going to any of those organ groups. The rest of your organs will come up and drain through the right side, which will then go back down into the chest and get flushed out the respiratory tract. And then anything that's left over from muscles and tissues will go to the linguinal, which then get flushed out the urinary tract. But on the back of your lower back, there's a little pocket coming up from the lower back, just under where your rib cage dents in, is a little pouch that when your colon is full and your colon is toxic, it will actually excrete fluids out into the back of this pocket just underneath your muscles to prevent it from going into your pancreas, liver, anything like that, because that is where the most toxic waste sits. And a lot of people with lymph problems actually struggle with lower back problems before they even notice anything about their lymphs. So I get super excited about the lymphatic system.
Yeah, that's good, because I'll actually I'll adopt that, because I do, like I said, I use the yoga for part of that, but I also understand that rebounding on a little trampoline just for a few minutes helps pump the lymphatic system, gets it moving.
Yes.
It would help to do that too, right? Like daily movement of some sort, when you're increasing the heart rate, the respiratory, just everything, it has to move.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That's why jumping rope is seen as one of the most healthiest things you can do, because you're controlling your breath as well as causing changes in the lymphatic system, which is also the best way of detoxing and getting fit at the same time. Another way of lymph drainage that I did that most people probably would not like is knife therapy. It's going from hot to cold. So having a hot shower, going straight to cold, sends that shock through your muscles in your body. You start to actually sweat more and urinate a lot more frequently than usual, because it actually causes these big detox exchanges. But once your lymph starts working and that sluggishness is gone, you find that you don't get as sensitive to the cold anymore, which I found quite fascinating.
Yeah, I like the hot cold too. That's quite lovely. That's quite nice. And you can do that even in your own shower. You can start with a warm shower.
Exactly. There's no specific way.
No, I was going to say, like some people like to take the Band-Aid off slowly. Me being a Scorpio, I'm like, just rip it off, take a breath, and get it done, right?
Exactly.
So what I do if I do that is I just turn the dial from like a hot shower to cold. It's like makes me do that couple of breaths, and often enough to flush things at least.
And it's also that change in temperature also has a way of kind of sending such a shock to your body that it actually breaks the frequency band coming through to the front of the brain, which resets your mind. So I was, when we were studying and things like that, so if I have to give a quick explanation of practicing this body correcting and doing all these different things, is I try to look at all aspects. So not just what's happening physically in the body, but I'm looking at routine at home, emotional, mental health, all these different things. And that is the quickest for someone who is struggling to digest things, or have bad anxiety, also depression. That hot, cold resets the frequencies happening in the brain. So it's like almost as if you're having a stressful situation and you're sitting in the hot water and you're thinking about it. As soon as you go to cold water, you're going to so much shock, you forget about what you were thinking, and your brain just deletes it.
Yeah,
so that's the best to deal with trauma.
Yeah, that what also works with that too is if you get into a bit of a negative funk, is a big change in your body, a physical change, like snap yourself out of it. And the example I've used before is when
counting backwards.
When my son was 6 or 7, he actually, what happened was a cougar got loose and he got frightened, thinking when he was only 6 years old or whatever that, you know, a cougar is going to jump out of the woods or whatever. And so he started getting negative, right? And I used to say, okay, you got to do jumping jacks. And he'd be like, I want to feel good. I want to feel good. And by the 4th one, he started to giggle and laugh and completely forgot, you know, he'd be just laughing at himself. Mind you, he was only a physiological change can help snap you out of that and
exactly
mind as well.
At the end of the day, anything really works. It's about just making the conscious effort to want to do something.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
Lying down with your legs up against the wall just creates a gravitational pull. Gravity is the best lymphatic drainage thing. That's why we have it. Your body was designed to walk 47 to 53 kilometers per day, and that gravitational pull is what stimulates the lymphatic system. So walking, fantastic. Walking barefoot, because you're excreting out negative electrons through your hands and feet that also help to cleanse out your lymphatic system in your body. That is, it's such a good thing, you know, even standing by the beach, the ocean. I even was watching a study that they're busy completing now about how trees can help break negative electromagnetic fields inside your body. So, for
100%.
example, if you have stagnant energy, like any kind of aches and pains, and you literally go and hug a tree for like 5 minutes, it starts moving and breaking that energy. The earth is beautiful, guys. Like, the earth is amazing.
Yeah, and there's actually I'm gonna put this on my website because I did find a video recently, because we do the business partner I work with, which is, it's actually called the Butterfly Brain Project. I'm the clinical director for the Butterfly Brain Project. It was called ERSI, Event Related Stress Injury, because PTSD implies you're broken. Disorder, and it's not a disorder. You've had a brain injury, or it could have been an event, a stress event. That maybe it wasn't a physical injury, but it was perhaps psychological or whatever. But we do work with grounding. And there's a video, I'll post it, that after just spending a few moments barefoot on the ground, even our blood looks completely different. Before, it's kind of, this is a very poor metaphor, but I'm going to say like mashed potatoes. It's all the blood cells are kind of like bleeding into each other. Whereas after we've been grounded and the electromagnetic energy of our field has been balanced again and is back in rhythm with Gaia, our mother, the blood looks more like its proper blood cells. It looks more coagulated, like potatoes, I'll say, rather than it's, you know, so I'll share that.
Yes. And that's fantastic. I love it.
There was that. Oh yeah, this is what I wanted to ask you, and we'll wrap it up because this is probably been a really long conversation. And don't worry, we will get back together again for sure to have some more chats. Talking about inverted, like I said, a shoulder stand in yoga is what they call the mother of all asanas, because you're inverted. All the blood flow, all the lymphatics, everything drains down into the low, you know, into the thoracic area. And when we come back upright, the whole chest area, blood, thyroid, parathyroid, is flooded with brand new, fresh, oxygenated blood. It gets a rush, just like in those twisting that we do. It's taking out a dirty cloth, and then when we bring our body back round, it's flushed again. So if people sit upright, like you said, with their feet up on a wall, and perhaps their bottom, just support it a bit so it's not flat on the wall, but it's a bit upright.
Yes, yes.
And
Really just lying in that position.
Yeah, lying in that position. Excellent to brush into the groin then while you're in that position.
Yes, yes, yes. That is actually how I brush in my treatments with clients with edema. I have a bed that gets elevated electronically, and then I'll put their legs over onto my shoulder and actually start brushing them down, because it's just that extra pull is so amazing. You actually have so many channels in each area. So let's take, for example, in your leg, right? You've got 3 major channels where your lymph will drain, but your lymph only uses one channel at a time. So when that channel gets blocked, it is just about creating that little shape that it will start using one of the other channels, because they're reserve channels. So the main channel is on the inside of the legs because it's the most protected. That's so you don't get knocked. You get knocked on the side of your leg and stuff like that. And that's why usually we build on the inner thigh. We build all these masses and things like that in. So definitely to lie back, and you don't even have to brush. You can just do like a tapping movement like this against the wall, and that already starts shaking it. You know, it is also very important to know.
You mean like your legs? Your legs. You're just lifting them off.
So,
okay.
Yes. So if you're lying on your bottom and you're lying flat and your legs are just up against the wall, but you're lying like this, and you just start kicking your heels against the wall, just like doing a light tapping movement, that's more effective than brushing, because it is actually just shaking all those cells down, and they start falling into the channels that are open.
Wow.
And we get fantastic results with that. I mean, people who have like swollen ankles can keep that swelling down, that they don't even notice that they still have it. You know, there's different ways of doing it, but I will add with it is to not go too aggressively with the lymphatic system. A lot of people get very excited in the beginning and want to drain like 5 times a day or something. Remember, if you're not super healthy, you're pushing and forcing these toxins out your body. You can actually send your body into stress and excrete a lot more cortisol, which can make you very sick and also block off the body. So I always say 3 is the key. You don't need anything more. You don't need anything less. If you body brush 3 minutes a day, not 3 hours. If you're gonna jump on the trampoline, 3 minutes. Any kind of 3-minute action is a long enough period for your body to cause an exchange, but short enough that you will not mess anything up. So if you have high blood pressure or diabetes or any kind of illness and disease, and you're like, even if you have any heart problems, you will not cause an aggressive exchange. So rather 3 minutes a day, and it causes light flushes. So it will take longer to get your goal, but it's the safest way to do it without harming the body.
Well, because like you said, they could send themselves into a healing crisis, and that toxin is going to come out potentially in their skin. Like it's going to right, and then you're going to feel sick. So less in balance.
So it's each one to their own discretion, because I mean, like you know what's going on in your own body, and that's what the high selves come back to the whole time. You know exactly. You know in your heart when something is wrong, when something is right. You are your compass. You know, your heart will always tell you. And if you know that you've got a few diseases and you're not as healthy, you need to slowly be prepared to take time to rehabilitate your body, because it wasn't that it happened overnight. It was things that happened a long term. But if you are already healthy and you want to keep that momentum going, then you can kind of push it. It is to just do what you feel is best for yourself.
Yeah, and I guess the best way to gauge your level of, an idea of one way to gauge a level of toxicity, obviously, is what you're putting in, what you eat, what you drink. I always like to say what you eat, what you think, what you drink, and how you move. If you do those 4 things, it doesn't matter what movement you do, whatever makes your heart sing. If you like walking or swimming, yoga or trampoline, it doesn't matter, whatever it is that floats your boat, right? But
exactly
dependent, but it would be also your elimination process would be very important, right? If you have regular movements to remove the toxins, regular excretion to remove the toxins, that would be a good indicator. Body odor would be another indicator of how toxic you may be, right? So I'm just perhaps stating
as well. Yes, as well as one of the ways that you can notice if you are very toxic is if you press at the back of your heels, like almost just under where your Achilles is, because that is the yeah. So more if I also had to
Yeah,
do
you
that
show your foot.
here, more
On the
here.
sides. Oh, here.
Yes, because that is the lower spine. Yes, that's the lower spine, the sacral area, but as well as that pocket that I was telling you about, that's at the back of the lower back. So if it's sensitive there, that means that there is toxins that not even your colon wants to excrete out. And your colon is what holds all the toxic waste. And then you're like, okay, I need to go see a doctor or a homeopath, or I need to speak to someone who is slightly more educated in this, because then I have a real problem. Right. Sometimes it's a light detox that you need, sometimes not. It really just depends on your body. Everyone is different. Like I get 100 people with exactly the same problem, same place, same sensation, everything. Each one's root cause is different. Right. You know, that's the problem with everybody trying to put each other inside of a box. We're not the same. We have the same anatomy, but we are different races, different blood types, different groups. We are unique, and it's about finding what works for you. Exactly. Because what works for you and what works for me is two different things. That's why there's multiple options.
Exactly.
You know
what I think we're going to wrap it. I think we're going to probably pause here, because that was a wonderful conversation on the heart.
No.
Frequency of the heart. Yes. So important, because if you're connected there, like I said, you're golden. If this is prepared, and the mindset is the mind is a servant. Yes. The heart is the large and in charge ruler, then we're good to go. And lymphatics, I'm so glad that you shared that, because this is something that people that are listening can do on their own proactive yes. Support themselves that way. So not tuned into their heart.
And that's good, because the best way to make sure that your native frequency is vibrating through your tissue is to get your water healthy, because water holds memory, and that memory that will come through from your native frequency will automatically heal, upgrade. It can cause different changes. It can automatically do stuff in your field without you even being consciously aware of it. That is how powerful it can be. That is why it's just always to make sure that you come back into you, do what's best for you. But I'm very happy I could have this discussion.
The environment and the pH is huge, because if you're right, we become products of our own environment. And since we're so much better, this goes to Dr. Masaru Emoto's work with the crystal and the water in the body. So we
I love that.
Yeah, we'll come back and have another chat. Don't go away, but I'm going to press pause now, and then we can wrap up. So thanks everybody for listening. I will make sure that I have all of the links. So how would people reach out to you? Can you do remote type of support, or is it mostly hands-on? How would people find you? And
so it's for now mostly hands-on. However, upon big request from everybody who's been watching the videos and everything like that, I am currently filming a YouTube series where I'm giving all this information for free, where whatever I learn, whatever techniques and all these methods that you can do from home, and methods that I use in the treatment room to give my clients to take home, I'm going to make it available to everybody. So if you want to check it out, look at my YouTube channel at Body Correcting, or you can find me on Instagram also at Body Correcting.
And I'll make sure I have all links at the end of this video and on the link too. So stay where you are, Natasha. Bye, everybody. Have a super day. We'll chat with you again soon. Oh, let me just